West War Room Rivals is sponsored by Emporia State Federal Credit Union. Learn more at esfcu.com. Text or call the number 620-342-2336 to get started today. ESFCU is the Shovix banking of choice, federally insured by the NCUA. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of West War Room Rivals. We have a new episode for you guys tonight, but before we get started, we are going to do our roll call. Thank you to Spy Optic for the shades. Don't forget, you can save 20% by using Orange 20. Shovix, kick us off with roll call.
All right. I am Austin, co-host of Shovix Sports, and I am representing the Chiefs.
I'm Corey, other co-host of Shovix Sports, and I am representing the Broncos.
Tim?
I'm Tim. I'm the host of Answer the Call, and I represent the Chargers. Bolt up.
Matt?
And I'm Matt with Orange Crush News 365, representing the Broncos.
And this is Cody representing Raider Nation. Let's get going. Ball tipped and caught! Oh my gosh! The double deflection! Set up the screen instead. He'll float it over the middle. Jump forward and Bowers down the sideline. The rookie from Georgia with the game's first goal. All right, guys, we are in the war room. What's going on, guys? Episode 12. How's everyone doing tonight?
Doing well, doing well. Let's go.
Living it up, boys.
Oh, yeah.
Did we have a great time with Derek Blaylock or what? I mean,
Did we ever?
stellar guy.
Definitely a new Westy Bestie.
Oh, yeah.
Westy Bestie.
Speaking of Westy
has
Bestie,
merch.
we do have exclusive merch now. Westy Bestie stuff is on there, as well as Where Rivals Collide. So it is live now. Go in the description and get yourself some merch. We actually have another guest here tonight, fellas. And, season is about to kick off. We have the Hall of Fame game next Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, with the Chargers and the Lions, which means fantasy football is around the corner. So the Shovix called in the big guns here, and we have the owner and co-founder of SmashUp Fantasy Sports. He goes by Chris. Everybody, welcome to the stage, Chris. What's going on, man? How's it going?
What's up, Chris?
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on. Although I feel jealous I don't have those awesome sunglasses. I got to go get a pair from that link.
Orange 20.
Orange 20.
Orange 20.
Arms 20. Remember
Orange
that.
20.
Yeah,
Give
Spy
yourself
Optic.
20% off. All right, who's got the first one?
So I do. And Chris, again, I thank you for coming on. I know Austin and I have talked multiple times since we had you on Super Bowl week when we were doing our little 3-night marathon of having different people on for, just to talk football. And we were actually really impressed with, everything that you were about, everything that you are doing with SmashUp. And we were like, we got to get them on. Well, of course, off season happens, right? And you obviously have a busy off season because it's really never an off season for you. You're always looking for improvements. But before we get into that, kind of walk us through the startup process of SmashUp and, where the ideas came from.
Yeah, so, honestly, it's a simple idea, right? This is a brand all about having fun, all about friends and playing fantasy. And it literally just started with me and one of my really good friends from grad school hanging out, drinking beer, watching March Madness. And we're talking about the football season that just ended a little bit before. We're talking about how it's kind of the same thing every year. And if you really look at a lot of fantasy right now, it is either your old school traditional home league or it's gambling, right? Everything nowadays, you can't watch a football game without 20 ads every commercial break for a different gambling site.
Yeah.
So we just want to do something different. And so we kind of took inspiration from some of our favorite other games, video games, board games, etc., and found a way to kind of create some different style fantasy games for people to come and have a good time, whether it was as a league or even some single player games. You just come play as an individual.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, we had you on our show, you were able to walk us through. And maybe if we have time at the end, maybe we'll let you kind of walk us through that again with your website and showing us that. I think, Timmy, you're up next.
Yes, sir. All right, so If you could sum up SmashUp Fantasy Sports in one sentence, what would it be?
It's fantasy football with favorite elements from video games and other board games, right? It is just a different way to play fantasy.
Okay.
Which one is your favorite of the board game styles that you mentioned?
So for me, there's a lot I like, but I like our single player fantasy game because it's a throwback to like Street Fighter, Mike Tyson's Punch Out, Mortal Kombat, a lot of games I grew up playing.
Yeah.
Where essentially you're playing against a different, head coach every week. There's 8 you got to beat over the course of the season. They get harder every single week because of some mechanics we have in there, but it's just head-to-head fantasy football. So you don't need a full league. You don't have to go get 12 of your friends. You can just come and play. But again, you got to use skill. You got to use more strategy as the season goes on because the coaches are getting better, and so you've got to grow with them.
So with SmashUp Fantasy, then, is there like 1 or 2 goals that you guys are trying to progress through in this new season of fantasy?
Yeah, I think it's just continuing to grow. So we had a pretty good year last year. Got up over 10,000 users. Had a lot of uptake. The single player was brand new, so that was really good. So I think for this year, we just want to continue to grow. We want to continue to get more users on the platform and playing. We want to continue to get more new ideas from people. I think this year, too, we launched our leagues last year, which is a little bit of a different style because it's like a scoreboard type. So, a cumulative score. So they're unlimited size. And so one of the use cases we found that wasn't the original plan is we actually had a couple companies approach us. And so this year we actually are running leagues for companies. So I think this year too, we want to test that out a bit, get into some more companies and figure out, do something again, a little bit different. And that's a little bit more fun than what you do traditionally.
I think there is a certain podcast that specializes in a specific division that might be interested, but
Fantastic. We'd love to have you guys play.
Sick.
So, Chris, my question for you is this: like when you came up with SmashUp Fantasy, us being content creators as well, like every one of us kind of had like that aha moment where like this is what's working. What was your biggest aha moment?
I think it was more just sort of talking through it, and we actually tested it with friends. We did a league that was completely offline, like ESPN, managed in Excel, and it was so popular that like we had a wait list. We did it for like 3 years, and like no one quit, and we had a wait list of other people that wanted to play. So I think that was a big one. I think one of the things people really enjoyed is we invented these basically power-up cards we call Smash cards. That was one of the elements if you've played things like Pokemon or Magic or any of those. Now, to be clear, these power-up cards are not like random chance, but it doesn't get too far away from football. You can almost think of them more as like, what's the term I'm looking for? Like player props. For your players. You're like, I think my guy's going to get a long pass. So I'm going to use. You've got a budget for these cards, right? It's free. It's not pay to win. Everyone has the same budget. You pick different cards that fit in your budgets. You think that, one of your receivers is going to pop off for a long reception. There's a card you can play where if the guy has a catch of over 50 yards, you get a bonus 30 points. So it's kind of a way to use your knowledge to like leverage your team a little bit more and just show off your skill.
It's pretty awesome.
Was it a lot of like trial and error at the startup of that?
Yes. No. So the first year we did it, as fun as it was, the cards were all totally mispowered, right? So some cards were OP and, it's like, okay, these were dominant cards that people were like saving for late in the year. We had a slightly different style of how you used them. And some cards sounded really cool in theory, and you played them and like your player hit it perfectly and they got like 4 points. You're like, okay, we need to like calibrate these cards a little bit better. So that was some of what we did the first couple of seasons.
Nice.
I have a quick question. So these power-up cards, like, do you only get to use it like once per season, like, or like once per player, or like how does that kind of work?
So the way the game currently works right now with the salary cap each week, you could technically use the same cards every week if you wanted to. There's some variation in pricing over time, depending on like how they're being used and how they're doing in a season. You are limited the number you can use. You can't just spam the same card you like on 4 different players. You do have to be selective. But yeah, you can have a dominant strategy you go to. The thing that we found, though, is over the course of the season, what works in a given week changes. So there's not one dominant card to play. The cards are pretty well calibrated at this point. I will say the original league we did and some of the ways we might use them in the future in leagues are the original test league we did, you had like a deck, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
So if you played a card in week 1, it was like gone. So the original way we played was a little bit more strategy because it's still new, because people are just getting used to the concept of cards. We don't want to do anything that crazy. So right now we just want people to learn how to use them and play them as much as they want.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
that's awesome. What are some of your favorite moments in creating SmashUp? Like favorite, like memory moments, not your aha moment, but more of a favorite moment.
I mean, I think for me, it was just when it launched. Less the soft launch. We hit a spot in the first season where we had a couple thousand users. We've done very limited marketing, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, it's got to be kind of somewhat the podcast, right? You get a certain spot where you've got real listeners. And you're like, people like this. People are enjoying what we're doing. And I think for me, I'm all about fun. I was in a fraternity in college. I love to host parties. I love to do things, organize trips with friends. So I think just having the game out there and getting people messaging us and enjoying playing it, that for me, it was the best part.
So Chris, you mentioned the aha moment or the favorite moments of creating, but what's the difficult part behind the scenes that people don't really take into account when building, a fantasy football site like what you've done and the creativeness behind it? What are some things that people just don't initially see that makes it difficult to bring to life?
I think there's a couple elements. One is just the calibration, kind of got mentioned earlier. You've got this great idea, but actually calibrating and making it something that is not only fair, the cards aren't differently powered, but simple. And actually, that's probably the biggest thing. If there's anyone out there watching this who's thinking of starting their own fantasy football site, we kept wanting to go more and more complex with the idea. We kept being look, people already have simple games. People already have normal fantasy. Can we should we ramp it up to make it even more and more differentiated? Anything that's different, take some user education and uptake. So, yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I think the other part of it is just it's a crowded space. So I think a big one for us is just getting people's attention. You kind of like to think Field of Dreams, right? If you build it, they will come.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got this whole site, you launch it, and there's a party that's great, we're going to put this out in the world, and 5,000 people are going to come because they hear about this new cool idea.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of sites, there's a lot of advertising out there, a lot of companies. So I think just slow and steady, getting people to come play and try the product was one of the harder things.
Going into this, where there are so many other fantasy platforms, how do you keep making yours unique and keep people interested in using it?
So I think for us, it's just our mechanics are so different that's kind of the nice thing. If we were just another platform where traditional fantasy you played in your home league, or we're just another player prop site, there's obviously some great ones. I don't mean to critique or say anything bad about the great ones that exist. But if I was starting that today, that differentiation would be hard. For us, I think it's the bigger challenge is more the education and getting people in, because you come to the site and you play with these power-up cards. You do, the single player. You do the leagues that are a bit of a different style. Even our weekly tournaments, we have some different ones. We mix it up where there's some slightly different overarching rules or things that change it. The uniqueness factor for us is not a challenge. I think people that come love the uniqueness. It's the education and kind of teaching people, hey, this isn't too complicated. This is easy to do. And as you start to like learn how to do it, you can actually use your strategy and your knowledge to be really good.
That's a pretty cool concept. And I think too, for those like, for all of us who grew up probably like in the arcade style video games, or even like what you said, some of them are with power-up cards and all that, this is probably going to feel like nostalgic, like bringing in some fantasy aspect, which is super competitive week to week or a full season, and then adding that element of making it feel like an arcade style from like when we were all growing up, like a Mortal Kombat or a Street Fighter, like you said. So I really feel like that's a super creative way to bring back like a creative head-to-head. And you're right, like all these other gambling sites are like, pick your lineup off of this amount of money, but they're not thinking of it in the other side of like, well, just because I have this player doesn't mean he'll do well unless I power up with these cards. And so it's just this continuous strategy that just goes beyond football. It's also going beyond, okay, what is this player's skill set? What is my strategy on this part of it? And I think that's what makes it interesting to keep it engaging. So
And there's some real ways to be creative. I think like one of the things you see is not all the cards are about powering up things that are good.
Yeah.
You can actually power up things that are bad. So, for example, if you don't have much money left for your kicker, you can get a cheap kicker playing in Soldier Field, and you can play a card on them where you actually get 10 points for every missed field goal or extra point. There's some ways to like be really creative with your lineup and really creative with your strategy decisions to say, you know what, I want to take advantage of where I'm good, but I also kind of want to take advantage of maybe power up a guy who normally would be a weakness for me.
Imagine having Justin Tucker on your team last year and then having that card. You would have beaten everyone just with him on your squad.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
All right, Corey, I think you're up. I think we're now going to transition into good old fantasy football now where we're talking specific players. So
yeah. So, and I should have specified on our sheet here too. So I want you to answer these kind of like in a way of like putting your twists of what SmashUp does with these kind of individuals. So like as we get going, think of like this one, an AFC West rookie everyone should be looking out for this year that isn't Ashton Jeanty. So like, maybe give a player and then like maybe I'm not saying give away like secrets of like, this and this, but just kind of put your own little twist on some of these.
Yeah, so probably not. I wish I had a more creative answer here, but if it's not Jeanty, you almost have to go for Hampton, right? Like, especially with Najee injury, and Najee, like, how crazy to get a starting job because your competition hurts himself with like a firework, and it's not even the first time that's happened in the NFL. So
how come the Chargers have to injure their veteran to get their rookie to play? Why aren't they good enough to just go into the starting lineup?
Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, so this is the Chargers thing. Like, it's like a repeat offense almost, It
is. I think someone may have placed a curse on Najee, just to, like someone who was a real Chargers fan is like, look, we need to get the safety blanket away from Harbaugh so he'll actually run out the better running back and let our dynamic rookie get into the game. From a SmashUp perspective, there's a few here. There's one I like. We got a card, Bruising Bell Cow, which, if you think about PPR, people play all the time. This is like PPC. You get a point per carry. And so I think without Najee, Hampton might feast. He might get 20 carries a week and just, get you an extra 20 points every single week on top of his yardage.
So you went on the popular end of the choices here, right? So now give like a sleeper AFC West rookie that you think would do pretty well.
I mean, on the sleeper side, it's going to take a little bit of luck, but I'm going to go for that son of a bitch out in Las Vegas. Got to get my cities right with the Raiders.
Yeah, we change around a lot.
Okay. Maybe I'm just getting old too, but I feel like you've been in 8-9 different cities since sometimes the same ones.
Yeah.
Since I was a kid.
We're repeat offenders, that's for sure.
But no, I mean, I think the rookie out there, right? I think that, Bowers is going to get his. Myers, I mean, I like Myers. Myers, ironically, is probably one of my guys I like we might talk about later.
Yeah.
But, he's 29. You don't know exactly when a player is going to drop off. And here's Batchu, who came on his last year. Was drafted early, and if Oakland's offense is any more dangerous, Jeanty's going to get his. But at the end of the day, they need to throw to somebody else. And so, I'm not saying this is a guy I would draft and start from week one. There's a guy stash on my bench, a guy I'd keep an eye on, or a guy in SmashUp who, as the weeks go on, I take a look and think if maybe someone would want to pick up on my team.
No, I love that one. That's exactly who mine was and who I was thinking of. So, no, I'm a believer in the Raiders. I don't know how much you've seen in the past, but I actually had the Chargers getting last. So
he's a closeted Raider fan.
Yes, any Raiders love, surprisingly, I'll be happy about it. But we're gonna move on to the actual the one good team in the division with the Chiefs.
Oh, here we go.
All right, guys, we're gonna just I'm gonna just sit back a little bit. Just go ahead. Don't worry about me.
If you're on my high horse, I have to get down a little bit. Outside of Mahomes and Kels, is there another Chiefs player that could be worthy of drafting in the early round?
Yeah, and I know actually the popular one at the start of camp right now is Rice, and that's probably not wrong. There's a part of me though, and maybe it's just maybe I'm a weirdo, maybe it's just the way what I saw it last year, but I really felt like Xavier Worthy came on really strong at the end of last season, was really good in the playoffs, was really starting to get rapport with Mahomes. Again, Rice could be out to start the season again. So he's going to get a couple of weeks without Rice. And I really feel like as a second-year receiver, it's not unusual to see second-year receivers make a leap. And I really feel like this could be the year that Worthy maybe becomes that number 2. And Rice, might regret, getting in trouble and missing these first couple weeks.
Yeah, we tried to put a hint in the question for you to kind of like, hey.
I wondered. I was like, am I being too corny using the name from the question? But no, I mean, look, Worthy just had good underlying stats too. I mean, one of these players where his underlying stats were almost better than his actual numbers for whatever reason. So doesn't always happen, but usually the actual production catches up to those underlying stats eventually.
Yeah, and if you look historically under Andy Reid, young receivers usually struggle a little year 1, and then the takeoff year is usually year 2. So he's kind of already ahead of the curve. So I like the Worthy pick a lot.
Yeah, and Worthy is from actually Fresno, so we love to claim him. And it was actually kind of upsetting that the Bills yet again gave up an end of the first-round draft pick to allow the Chiefs to get him. They seem to do this every flipping year, and they wonder why they can't beat the Chiefs. It's almost annoying of like, you guys are literally making this franchise. Stop it. Stop doing deals with them. But I agree with you, Chris. Xavier Worthy is probably, I would even say maybe not even a sleeper anymore. I think he's going to go pretty high in some respective drafts because Rashid Rice coming back, how healthy is he going to be? Also, he got in trouble, so he's going to be out for a lot of the season. And Mahomes and Worthy had a pretty good connection even throughout the playoffs, and it ran all the way through the Super Bowl. I think he scored in the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think Worthy is almost like on the cusp of like he's probably going to be the first Chief drafted in a lot of leagues just because of what he can do on the field.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He might even be drafted ahead of Kels, honestly.
Yeah.
Kels was kind of down the tight end rankings. So
I would at this point. I mean, I don't even dislike Kelsey per se. He could have a good season, but I feel like there's enough tight ends we're kind of batched around him at this point that I'd rather roll the dice on a high upside receiver than kind of have some of that middle cluster of tight ends.
Yep.
He's worthy of a roster spot.
But,
I had to, man. I had to. I was waiting for it.
Can you guys slice in that Wayne's World?
Yeah, such a dad's joke. Way to go, Matt.
I love dad jokes. But getting back on track here. So, Chris, in regards to the Broncos, Bo Nix kind of surprised everyone except for Corey and I. We were already Bo leavers, I guess you can say, and he played pretty well.
All right, Matt. All right, you settle down, dude. The dad juice is running a little thick right now. Okay, relax.
All right, lighten up. All right. Anyway, it's my take. My turn. Anyway, so now Bo Nix has a new supporting cast around her. You know, you bring in R.J. Harvey, Pat Bryant, Evan Ingram. Marvin Mims coming off of a breakout year, Cortland Sutton with his 1,000-yard receiving year. So who, besides Cortland Sutton, who do you think is going to be the Broncos sleeper this year?
Yeah, I went back and forth on this one a little bit. And I think for me, I may be biased. I said the same thing last year, and it didn't work out with a different team. But I like Evan Ingram. I feel like he's still got some juice left in him. He was the number 10 tight end last year for separation yards. Obviously, had some injuries last year. It was also just a really bizarre year for that Jacksonville offense. So I feel like he still has some tread on the tires. I feel like Nix coming into his second year is probably going to take a step as a quarterback. And I also feel like Ingram's a good guy for those targets peppered across the middle of the field. Will be a good safety valve for Nix beyond Sutton. Mims, you could also make a case for as well, but I don't quite believe in him yet. He had a lot of touchdowns, a lot of long touchdowns last year. That's not always sustainable. So I don't mind Mims as a late gamble, but Ingram's a guy I look at more as my sleeper.
So with Marvin Mims, is there like a power-up card that would work for a player like him?
Yeah, I think for him, I'd want to take a card like Speed Demon. Speed Demon is I was actually kind of referencing earlier, it's the one where if a player catches a pass over 50 yards, you get 30 bonus points. Mims may not catch a ton, but he broke some long ones last year. And if he can get if I've got him in my lineup as maybe a little bit of a cheaper choice, maybe double down on him and see if he can catch one of those long bumps.
Awesome.
Real quick, you mentioned Ingram. Is there a card for Ingram, though, that would kind of play to his strengths?
I think
Hopefully
the Speed Demon.
it's one that like takes his injury level, like down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a catch merchant. So if you have like a lot of catches, little yards, and something that bonus points for like 7+ catches or something.
Yeah, we have a few. I mean, this is a little more stat. I might leverage a little more. So everyone knows like PPR. We've got a couple like catching fire. You actually get 3 points for every catch. We also have another one, tunnel vision of love, where it's just per target. So even if you think that Nix is going to struggle a little bit, maybe sophomore curse, but you think that, you know what, he's going to throw 12 passes to Ingram, but maybe Ingram only catches 4. It's like that Amari Cooper, Deshaun Watson connection last year on Cleveland. You can still get 3 points for every one of those targets,
Wow.
which is so nice. Again, just shows with your knowledge. I don't know if he's going to catch, but I think he's going to get the targets.
Man, I love that because all of us have probably played a PPR league at some point, right? And there's nothing more defeating than seeing your receiver get like 2.3 points, but he had like 14 targets. And you're like, how close was he to just having a blow up week for me? So I think that's just a look into like how this is different, right? Like that really bad week in a standard PPR league is kind of fun and exciting and like useful for SmashUp.
Yeah.
I definitely played Cooper a couple times last year with this card before he went to the Bills, and it was awesome because he'd only have like 4 or 5 points, but he would get me 15 targets, and I'm like, there's 45 points added on my score just because I knew Watson was going to lock in on him, just couldn't throw the ball within 10 feet of him.
Yeah. So before we move on, I do have a question like in regards to like the power cards. One of Cortland Sutton's like biggest strengths is that he's a red zone threat. Like I think he was 3rd in the league in red zone touchdowns. Is there a card for like red zone power ups?
Yeah, there's a few there, and I think one of them that's kind of a fun one is this one called the Human Vulture, which was originally conceived. Now I'm gonna of all times I'm gonna have a draw blank here. All right, this girl will know. What was the name of the old fullback who used to steal all of Adrian Peterson's touchdowns on the Vikings?
Oh my gosh, CJ Ham's the only one I can think of.
Or Toby Gerhardt?
No, he wasn't a full.
No, all right.
I don't know, man. I'm just thinking names, dude.
I know someone's spinning real quick on this one, but basically, if you play this card, you end up getting double the points for all of your touchdowns and losing like 25% of the points for receiving yards. So you debate if you want to with Sutton. Is it going to be a week where he goes off in yards? Maybe you don't want to play it. But if you think he's going to catch 2 or 3 touchdowns, but maybe it's a tough defense, he's not going to get a bunch of yardage, Human Vulture's a fun one to play.
Okay.
All right.
That's pretty cool.
I
All
like
right.
it. I like it.
Let's get down to business. All right. We got to talk Raiders now. So,
Oh, Jesus.
Chris, I got a 2-parter for you. One, who is the number 1 tight end in the league? And I think I know your answer, but who is it? And then second, who is a sleeper on the Raiders that you think would bring a lot of points with certain power-up cards?
Okay. So 2 parts. First of all, there's a little exercise I do sometimes. I do a lot of stuff around like the NBA drafts and stuff too. And sometimes I like to play devil's advocate. And I'm like, well, why not? Like, there's conventional wisdom. Why is it wrong? I have tried to play devil's advocate and say, I guess I'm backing my way into your answer. Why will Brock Bowers not be like the number 1 tight end?
Yeah.
Well, he was number 1 in like targets and snap share and all these, stats last year. Now they have Jeanty. Now they have Beck. Now they've got more weapons on offense. Geno Smith has never really thrown to his tight end. I think the best year his tight end had in Seattle was Noah Fant, had 486 yards and 4 touchdowns one year.
Right.
So those are all the reasons why maybe he's only going to be like okay. And I just can't do it. I look at all that and I say, no, he's Brock Bowers. He was freaking amazing last year with 2 or 3 of the worst quarterbacks playing in the NFL.
Yep.
Now he's got Geno. He's obviously worlds better than Font or any tight end Geno's had. The advanced stats are there. I mean, he's going to be a stud.
And Chip Kelly is his OC right now. So and he loves to play a speed up offense. And for a check down person like Geno's going to want, Bowers will be right there.
And I think if you look at him too, he's just a player that they deploy creatively too. So he's hard for the defense to take away because he's not someone who can only run, 1 route over the field. They gave him a couple handoffs last year, and I'd be curious to see if Carroll expands on that, if they try that to use him as a runner a little bit more. They certainly did in college too. So he's just one of those hyper versatile players who I would really consider even taking him in the first round. Maybe I can't quite talk myself into that depending on where I am, but he could give you a real competitive advantage tight end. Oh, and I'm definitely playing on him. I'm not even messing around with him. I'm just playing Hall of Fame tight end, which gives you your Hall of Fame. Gives you your tight end score times 3. It's a little bit more of an expensive card because you're getting times 3 on the entire score. But I don't need to get cute with Bowers. I'm just tripling his score and taking the points.
There you go.
Yeah, that's smart, right? Like, don't try to outthink yourself, right? Like Bowers is right now. Bowers is the guy until we see otherwise consistently, right? But this is more kind of just a normal football, non-fantasy related question. You said that Brock had 2 or 3 of the worst quarterbacks thrown to him last year. So does that mean you think Geno Smith is easily the starter over Aiden O'Connell?
Yeah, I mean, you don't sign him to that contract to not make him the starter.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying.
Well, I know Pete put out that Aiden O'Connell has a chance, and I'm like, well, what's he supposed to say, right? Like, no, there's no chance for this guy. So I was just curious. As you mentioned him as one of the 2 or 3 worst, and there's some floating videos and speculation that AOC might be the guy. So I just wanted your opinion.
I will say this. Last year we had a card I played on AOC a lot, which I'll give AOC credit for something, which is that he is able to move the ball to some degree. He also just makes a ton of mistakes. So we have a card called Goldfish Memory, where basically you, instead of losing 2 points, you get
the name of these cards, I got to say, are top tier. These are phenomenal.
They are. Yes.
We have a lot of fun with this. So this card, instead of losing 2 points, you get 8 points for every turnover your quarterback has. So I love to play that one sometimes with the quarterbacks were just messy. The ones where, I think Jameis Winston was a star with his card. The guys were like, I'm going to throw for 400 yards, but 3 interceptions. They would just crush this card for points. So, AOC was good for that, but I don't – there's no way he's going to beat out Geno Smith unless Geno really just falls off a cliff. And if he does, then I think the Raiders are in trouble.
Yeah. Fair point.
That's the territory Raiders are used to, so –
hey, buddy.
I'm sorry. Timmy, go ahead.
Okay, so with Najee Harris now a Charger, assuming that, the eye injury isn't anything serious, do they now have 2 worthy fantasy starters in the backfield? The Chargers?
Yeah, I mean, they do. Najee is a good runner. Say what you want about him, but I think he was, number 9 in juke rate last year, something like 20 in elusiveness. He's not bad. He's not the world's greatest guy, but I think he's someone where people still think poorly of him because he was a highly touted rookie, and for whatever reason, he just really struggled those first couple of years in Pittsburgh. But he kind of quietly became like a legitimate fantasy player the last couple of seasons, even on some sort of pretty mediocre Steeler teams. So, I think Harbaugh he's like Shanahan. He's a guy that has a good run game. He's always able to make fantasy relevant and sort of star players out of so-so runners. No offense to J.K. Dobbins, who's been good other than injury in the past. He was good. Gus Edwards was good last year with the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Najee is really that much worse than those guys. So I think Najee gives him a legitimate starter, and I think obviously Hampton, if he gets touches, always a little bit hard with a rookie, especially with a coach like Harbaugh. Sometimes they're really talented runners, but things like pass blocking is sort of under-discussed. People always think the best runners should be out there, but if you can't pass block, you're not going to see the field with a coach like Harbaugh, or if you put the ball on the field 1 or 2 times, you're going to wind up on the bench. If Hampton can avoid that, if Hampton can show he can pass block, obviously great production in college. So 2 really, really good running backs for the Chargers, which is going to be interesting because towards the end of last year, they seemed to kind of Harbaugh let Herbert do more at the end of last season. He seemed to sort of, at the beginning of the year, was very conservative running game. He opened up the offense as the season goes on. So it'll be interesting to see what his plan of attack is this year.
So would a vulture card work in this situation?
Oh, absolutely. If Najee's going to be getting the goal line touches, there's a world where we're like last year, right? You can see Hampton running like 20 to 20 and racking up a ton of points. And then, Najee coming in and slugging the ball in from 2 yards out and being that human vulture.
You got my mind spinning on that. Could you use it on like Jalen Hurts or like with the tush push? I feel like he's vulturing a lot from Saquon.
All right, so no, that card is only eligible for running backs and receivers and tight ends. We do have, and now you're going to trip me up because I feel like we added it for the Super Bowl. We did add like a tush push card though. So both years for the Super Bowl, we've added 10 new cards just for that week. The card art, everything, they're kind of, we can't name them after players or anything, but they're kind of illusions. Like, look, if you know the teams, you know what they are. Now you're like making me think back to last year's Super Bowl. I'm trying to remember what we called the tush push card, but it did give you
I
the.
do remember us talking about that. I just don't. I don't remember. I don't remember what it was called either. But it was like obviously that was the hot topic at the Super Bowl was, can the Chiefs stop the tush push? And then that's I do remember. I just don't remember the name of it as well. But yeah, that's.
You had me thinking. I'm like, no one got vultured more than Saquon from his own dang quarterback. So
yeah, I think he did all right. What was it, 2,000 yards? I think he did okay.
He did, but just think of how much better that could have been if those 16 touchdowns were his.
Well, he had all the yards because like he would get it to the one and get tackled, and then here comes Jalen Hurts and tush push.
If it's can't be stopped, then why not do it?
No, I agree. Yeah. I just from a fantasy perspective, I'd be sad-ish. I'd still be pumped about Saquon, but.
And I just looked, by the way, it wasn't not the Da Vinci Code here. The name of the card was just tush push. So that was it.
Oh, that's right. Probably because they didn't trademark it quite yet.
Yeah. It was a guy just pushing a giant peach up a hill, and I'll let you come up with your own reasons why that was the graphic.
That's awesome. All right. So now I think we're just going to hit you with a nice general open question of just your overall sleeper for the Chiefs.
They only have so many players, right? Like we talked about Rice. I guess Worthy, if you want to say he's too good. If you really wanted to roll the dice a little bit deeper, you could go for Hollywood Brown here, right? He's a guy who's been a deep threat in the past. Playing in Arizona, Kyler Murray is not the most accurate deep throwing quarterback. He only played like 2 weeks into last year, so he never got rapport with Mahomes. Because he's more of a deep threat guy, I don't know if he necessarily has the consistency that I love in fantasy. With that said, Mahomes in the past has been one of the more accurate deep passers. So if you need a guy for a week, if you need to fill in for a bye week, if one thing we'll always talk about in fantasy is variance. If you're just staring at a week and you're favored to lose by 20 points and you just need to roll the dice a little bit, you need to get some extra variance in your lineup. A guy like Hollywood Brown is absolutely the kind of player who could have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns in a week, catching a couple of bombs, a little bit like Mims we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, kind of that Sammy Watkins role from a while back. He would go on a heater and then just nothing. But I like that. I feel like the common pick is always it's been the rookie receiver Royals, and then Rashard Smith are always kind of the sleeper picks. So I like that. I'm also a no tight end kind of person, so I think Noah Gray is someone to kind of keep on watch list.
Mm-hmm.
That is actually a good one. He played well last year when Kelsey missed time. As long as Kelsey's healthy, I doubt they take him out. But if Kelsey's getting older, if anything happens to him, Gray could be someone you slide in as your tight end.
So I was hoping to go this whole episode without actually talking about Mahomes, but here we are. So with quarterbacks like that, I know you mentioned a Hall of Fame card for Brock Bowers. Do you have any kind of specialty cards for a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, some of those other big time quarterbacks?
Oh, 100%. So we've got one that's Golden Arm that could be great for Mahomes, where every touchdown pass is worth 8 points instead of 4. We've got one for Josh Allen called Turbo Boost, where all of your rushing yards and rushing touchdowns get a 2x multiplier for your quarterback. So, again, you got to play it right. You'd be surprised. Even these really good running quarterbacks, they tend to have weeks where they get just 20 rushing yards and no touchdowns. So you got to be careful about when you want to use this and how you want to budget. If you get the right week where someone like Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts has 70 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, you can kind of vault yourself to the top of the standings, make some big gains, or win a tournament, or beat the head coach in the single player game by using these cards.
So we talked about, I know you said Evan Ingram would be like your sleeper for the Broncos, but one thing about Ingram is sometimes he's a little injury prone. So who would be like your alternate candidate for a sleeper on the Broncos?
Not my all-time favorite player, but just RJ Harvey. I don't like him quite as much as some of the other rookie running backs, but at the end of the day, there's only so many running backs, right? And you never know in a situation like this. If he's a bust, he's a bust. But he's a bust you can draft pretty late right now. A couple of the early drafts I've done, I think I'm in one of those Scott Fishbowl leagues. I think he just went in somewhere like the 12th or 13th round. And so if I can roll the dice on a running back in the 12th or 13th round, or get him at a cheap price, in SmashUp, or in one of the other like fantasy leagues, like if I'm playing DraftKings or something, that's a pretty darn good price. I mean, if he flops, he flops. But if he works out, I mean, you could have a guy who turns out into a workhorse running back for an offense I think has a chance to be a frisky offense this year.
Really hope so.
Yeah.
Really.
Do you think that Geno Smith could be a quarterback that a fantasy player could like draft to rely on as like to win them a week, or at least, could help win their week to week matchup, or, be someone that could be consistent enough to be relevant in fantasy?
A big game in fantasy, not in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I almost feel the opposite with Geno. I actually, to be quite honest, I'm not even sure how good Geno is. He had one really good season with the Seahawks. He's been okay since. He's an upgrade for the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of feel like he's one of these players who might be better in real life than in fantasy. The Raiders might run the ball a lot. I feel like he's the kind of guy who, I don't want to call him a game manager, but he might come in and just be like perfectly acceptable, NFL quarterback who gets you 250 yards a week and averages, 1.5, 2 touchdowns. That's fine. That's probably not going to push you to the top of the standings in fantasy. You probably want to be a little bit bolder. So how would I use him in fantasy? If I'm someone who's maybe rolling the dice on a riskier player, or running quarterbacks when they might get hurt, or if I want to grab a stable quarterback and then gamble on a couple of running, and I want to gamble on like Anthony Richardson to see if he can like turn things around this year, Geno might just be that stable guy who kind of like helps hold down that spot in your lineup while you're trying to figure out a better option. If I'm heading to the playoffs and Geno's my quarterback, I have to have like an all-star rest of my lineup. I'm going to be pretty nervous with him quarterbacking my team.
Yeah.
You mentioned that Geno is, you don't want to say game manager, but kind of more of a game manager. Is there a card that could help power him up if he was, on your team? Or
But let me see your manager card.
The Karen card.
Okay. Well, we have one. So if you think that he can get out and run a little bit in that offense, we do have one, Mr. Relevant, based on the Super Bowl from 2 years ago. I'm hoping I can remember this correct at the top of my head. But if a player throws for 250 yards and rushes for 20 yards, you get 20 points.
Wow.
So it's a nice little bonus. It's a little bit like if you think Geno's okay, he could do that. I believe Geno could throw for 250 yards. So I don't want to piss off Cody here because he's listening to this thinking I'm greatly underselling his quarterback. But
I just have the mute button ready to go. That's all. We were good though.
I
is
just
there
think
one that just kicked somebody off and he's going to kick me back to the back room in a second here?
Geno's about to be that 2.0 Russ for Pete. You guys just watch it.
I hope so, because then that means that we'll be competitive in the division. Because we need Geno from Seattle. If that's who's going to be the starter, that's who we need. Like point blank, we can't have a watered down Geno from whatever. We need like a good.
You're about to get New York Geno, okay?
No, you're about to get.
I'm just saying, like
You're about to get Broncos, Russ.
That's what I was saying.
No.
I'm just, if he can work on the turnovers a little bit. I mean, he's thrown for over like 4,000 yards, 4,500 yards,
Yeah.
and like an okay amount of touchdowns.
I'll tell
If
you
could
what,
live
he
over
has
some,
great
man.
catchphrases, like
He
great
does.
sayings. Because he had one today where he's like, "I didn't come to gamble, I came to run the table" or something. And I was like, "Heck yeah, man, that's great!" Because that's almost as good as the "they wrote me off, but I didn't write back" quote. So he's got some bangers.
Yeah, after Nathaniel Hackett let him win that game.
Sorry, bud.
Go ahead, Timmy.
Okay, so for obvious reasons, Hampton, Herbert, McConkey are going to be the absolute. You're taking the Charger player. Give us a sleeper on the Chargers that maybe not a lot of people are even noticing right now.
Yeah, so I mean, again, we're going pretty deep here because I think we've covered like a lot of the earlier sleepers. I gotta say, there's a small part of me that is intrigued at the very end of a draft by someone like Quentin Johnson. We keep wanting to write him off. He's had problems with drops, but he had some really big games last year. He had a few big games. He has some chemistry with the quarterback. And there's this thing that happens, and we were talking a bit of like fantasy baseball earlier too. You see it all the time. And there's like an unsexy closer, and everyone wants to go for the young fireballer. And sometimes that unsexy closer just keeps the job the entire season and locks down like 40 saves. So I feel like it's kind of the same thing here, which is that, look, easy to write Quentin off. He could take another step this year. Easy to start looking at like the rookies and hoping that some guy steps up and is like a star out of nowhere. It could be the really unsexy player. Sorry, Quentin Johnson or Quentin Johnson fans. If he takes another step forward, if his hands get just a little bit better this year, not that he's going to necessarily win your league, but he could be that stable, like number 3 wide receiver.
Tim is not happy with that answer.
Not a QJ fan?
Huh?
Not a Johnson fan?
Are you not a Johnston fan?
I was when he got drafted, and I was stoked for the pick. I seen him in college, and then since then, just nothing, and it's been drop after drop, and I mean, definitely cost the game last year. That wide open drop, he would have taken it to the house with his speed. So, yeah, I'm not really happy about it, but like I really do hope that you're right and that he does turn it around and he takes that next step and he finds where his hands are. That way he can catch those balls. I actually think the rookie tight end, Gaston, could be a really good sleeper because nobody's really thinking about him, but I think he could come in. If he learns the offense, he could be a good sleeper. Austin, you had something?
Yeah, no, I was going to mention Gadsden too. Is Trey Harris not count as a sleeper?
No, I guess he could be right. I mean, I think he's one of those people look at because he's a rookie. I do want to be a little bit careful about though. Before you put the words in my mouth and say that I said Quentin Johnston would be good, I just said he's a deep sleeper. If you're like, who could be a deep sleeper?
No, that's not what I heard.
I don't want to come back at the end of the year.
That's not what I heard. I heard, Quentin Johnston's a must pick up, must start every week. I thought I heard that.
First receiver off the board is how I took it.
Better than Xavier Worthy, I think.
50-50 for first pick.
We're gonna get Chris back on. We're gonna get Chris back on Super Bowl week right before we watch the Broncos Rams in the Super Bowl, and we're gonna be like, "Yo, about Quentin Johnston, what are you talking about?"
After he's cut 3 weeks into the season. Yeah.
So we're talking fantasy football here, and Timmy, bear with me for a second. Cody, would you like to do the honors of what we ask most of our guests in regards of fantasy football?
Yeah, it's a great
Tradition now.
litmus test to find out where everyone sits. So would you, in fantasy, if I'm getting this correct, Tim, we're putting in fantasy brackets, would you rather have Ashton Jeanty or Amari and Hampton?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right?
He had to think.
Okay.
Timmy's like, that's a win.
So this is a hard one, right?
There's only one right
I
answer, but go ahead.
The ceiling is higher for Jeanty. But if you have to ask me, do I want to trust a Jim Harbaugh running back, or do I want to trust a Raiders player? And I'm sorry, Cody, but there's a history here. There is a history.
We were vibing, Chris. We were vibing. Come on, man.
You know how many years I've drafted a Raiders player only to get completely screwed over by them? Like, this is...
Yes, I do, because I've been a Raider since I've been alive. So, yes, I completely understand that.
But we're
So-
also saying a Jim Harbaugh running back. We got to remember now, Jeanty is a Pete Carroll running back.
That is true. It's been a couple. I don't know. I struggle to fully trust the Raiders. And here's the thing with the Raiders. Not only are you trusting the Raiders, but if you think that Brock Bowers is going to be like number 1 tight end, first round draft pick, you're also trusting that this team basically has 2, arguably first round picks. Are the Raiders going to go from supporting like no first round picks to 2? They could. They definitely could. I like Jeanty. I would have no problem drafting him. But I will say Hampton actually feels like he could be a slightly safer pick. Depending on how long Najee's out for.
Safer in what sense?
If Najee's out and Hampton is a starter for a good period of time, the starting running back in a Jim Harbaugh offense is going to eat.
Okay.
They've got a great offensive line. They've got a good passing game. They're going to put up a ton of points. They're going to be leading in a bunch of games and running down the clock. I just have zero doubt that a Jim Harbaugh running back is going to be good. I think Jeanty's going to be good. I don't trust a Raiders running back the way to a Chargers running back.
All right, that kind of hurt my feelings, but I understand.
Okay.
And with that, you're in the backstage now.
Give Timmy so
Okay, so
hyped.
you said that because he's a Raider player. Okay, so let's do a hypothetical, and let's say that he was like on the Browns.
Okay, that's like
And
the one
would you-
team worse than the Raiders. This is it. Of all the teams, you give me the Browns.
Okay.
Or sorry,
You
Cody,
can
that's
take
the
them
one
to the-
team worse.
Pete.
Okay,
This
I'll
is-
tell you
You
what.
can
I'll
take
tell
them
you
to the
what.
Super Bowl.
You pick the team. Okay, like not like a superstar team like the Eagles and all that, but you pick a team that you
Broncos.
would actually trust Jeanty on over Hampton, because it sounds like you would actually take Hampton because you're going to trust him a little bit more, but it's because he's a Raider player. So
Well, hold on. I think you're putting words in his mouth now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
If the Chargers had both, let's say that the situation was reversed, right? If the Raiders drafted
Okay.
Hampton, if the Chargers drafted Jeanty, then I'm taking Jeanty. I think Jeanty's the better player, although they're both pretty close. But I liked him. I mean, if the Niners, if Jeanty had fallen to us, I would not have minded us drafting him. But yeah, if it was same team, all else being equal, I'm taking Jeanty. I'm still drafting Jeanty early. I'm just a little bit nervous to put my fantasy season to use my first round pick on a Raiders player.
Well,
Josh
I'll
Jacobs
even.
was about the right spot,
Yeah.
For comparisons, you haven't always been hurt by Raiders people. Josh Jacobs was okay for a little bit.
He was basically our best running back until we let him walk for Green Bay. But it sounds like you're saying that in general, as a player, strip the teams away. Ashton Jeanty over Hampton. What your hang up is the teams themselves, which I get. And I don't. I
And
would
that
not.
matters.
The line, the quarterback, a little bit of everything there.
Yeah, I would not put. I wouldn't draft Bowers with the first round, and I wouldn't draft Jeanty with the first round. I think if you went first round, even like up to 12 or 14 picks, I feel like you still wouldn't get to either one of them until maybe the back end of the second round if you're really reaching for one of them. But I get it. When we had this conversation, I think one of our first episodes, it was just a straight up Ashton Jeanty or Marion Hampton. And so, of course, you can guess who's on which side. So it's almost like to initiate our guess, who would you pick? You know what I mean? So,
Chris, I will say what I said it was for fantasy purposes, and I did say that it was because Amarian Hampton is a slightly better pass catcher than Jeanty. So if you're doing fantasy PPR, I mean, if he's catching out of the backfield and Jeanty's not, I would rather have the running back that's going to get me a couple of catches a game versus a running back that won't.
Yeah, and by the way, to the earlier statement, it's like as a point of fact here, as a longtime fantasy sicko, Josh Jacobs was legit on the Raiders. He gave one good season when no one expected it. As soon as people counted him and took him the next year, a mix of injuries and the offensive line and the team just falling apart.
And Josh McDaniels, we can just say that. And Josh McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels.
Yes.
See, as soon as you counted, I'm like, he was great for people who took him as a dart throw. As soon as you're like, you know what, I'm going to trust a Raiders running back. What happened? He imploded on you. And then, of course, he goes to Green Bay and he's awesome. So
Yes, of course. Like nothing ever happened.
See, there's still only one Raider player I do trust, and it's because I've loved him from the day he was in college, and that's Jacoby Myers. He's never going to be sexy, but he's always going to be consistent. So
He's
I
sexy to
understand
me.
where you're coming from. Like, if he gets 7 on accurate targets, he's getting 7 catches. Like, I don't know, the dude's glue.
Oh, I love him. I've had him in. So we've talked about different sleepers. We've gone from like small sleeper, like dart throw. We never really got to the middle, which is Myers. He's been like a top 30 wide receiver like the last. He's always underdrafted compared to where he finishes. I feel like he's probably one of the more underrated wide receivers in the league.
Well, and one of his early ones, like with the Patriots, he didn't have a touchdown. Wasn't it like first like 2.5 years?
Yeah.
Like he didn't have a touchdown, so like that obviously turns people away. But you still forget like 7 catches for 80 yards is still a pretty good day for like your third receiver.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
before we get to the lightning round, you and I, when we were talking, and I had asked you, what do you want to talk about? Like, what do you, Chris, coming onto our show, want to do? And you had mentioned something about some updates and new stuff coming out this year. So we're going to give you the floor for however long you need, and we're just going to kind of give you the opportunity to let everyone know what's coming up. What does SmashUp have coming up this season? Because I know we're pretty excited. We've been talking about this like even before coming on the show, and we kind of knew of you already, and then these guys started doing research. So I know this is something that we're really looking forward to. So we're excited to hear about the updates and big things coming from you guys. So floor is yours.
I appreciate it. I won't take the floor for too long because I feel like we got into a lot of it up front. But we're gonna have leagues again this year, which should be fun again. Unlimited size. The cards make it so it's a little bit more fun and competitive. We actually added it this year, so if you ever were rushing at the last second, there's going to be a button you can use to auto set your lineup and then come back and trade out players, because you do also use a salary cap for your lineup, a different one than your cards. We're also going to have the single player again this year. We're going to have, I think, well, I don't want to upset our programmers. I think we're going to have 2 different tracks, so 2 different single player games you can play if you want to. But you can jump in. You don't need to recruit a league to play. It's your chance to come and prove you're the best. Play against these increasingly harder coaches who get trickier and have more power, are a little more powered up the further you go on, and play that kind of like Street Fighter, Mike Tyson style game. And of course, we'll continue to have our weekly tournaments, different challenges, different prizes, all completely free. Nothing, on the site costs any money. But last but not least, of course, if you're at a company, if you guys do an annual fantasy league, come check us out. Connect with your HR. If you come, there's a spot in our website you can go enter, connect with us. And if you connect with us, we'll put you in a drawing for a free NFL jersey of your choice. If we actually end up doing something at your company, we'll also get you a free mini helmet from Green Gridiron. So we've got some cool stuff we're doing. Check it out, smashupsports.com. I look forward to a great season with all of you.
Now, is it only the website, no app, or?
Only the website for now. Hopefully the app
okay.
eventually, but it's web-based. You can also play on your web browser. Or what some people know you can do, if you go on your little web browser, you can actually save down to your
make a
your
makeshift
phone. It
app.
actually works like an app.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Well,
So you want me
go
to
ahead.
go into the lightning round?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
All right. So we got to get to know SmashUp quite a bit, Chris. So let's get to know a little bit more about you in this lightning round. And then we actually have a couple of comments that we'd love to have you answer as well. I think they're fantasy focused. So that's also just on a little pin there. But outside of football, what's your sport of choice if you have one?
Hands down NBA. I'm a huge NBA fan and can't wait for us to add that to SmashUp someday.
Yeah, tell
Lifelong
me more.
Sacramento Kings fan.
Okay.
So, listen, all the pain you have as a Raiders fan, I get it. I've lived it. I've been there. I even work on the NBA draft. So I've done everything from modeling and ranking. So I actually have a different site. It's just much more of a hobby. But NBADraftNetwork.com. If you like the NBA, if you like the NBA draft, I know we just finished it, but for next year, just come check us out. It's sort of a fun thing.
I like it. Do
I
you
think
think that
that
the
the
NBA lottery was rigged?
I don't. I get the reasons they say it, but
Okay.
the main reason, my dorky consultancy reason here is that they actually have, I think it's KPMG, actually puts their whole reputation on the line.
Yes.
They're,
Yes.
KPMG's billions and billions of dollars in revenue a year. They don't want to be the next Arthur Anderson who got blown up over Enron.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to put their entire reputation at risk to rig a lottery.
Well, and not only that, but I mean, I'm sure it's convenient because it was the Mavericks, and sure, but also too, if the NBA was going to rig something, they would have done something a little bit more creative than the Mavericks and Cooper Flag. And Cooper Flag's a decent prospect for those NBA fans, but he's not LeBron level, like in terms of prospect. You know what I mean? Sorry, guys, that was our NBA segment, but
LeBron's not even good. That was a terrible comparison.
whoa, buddy.
Okay.
Okay, hold
There you
on.
go. Hot take.
Look, I'm a Kobe guy through and through. Fight
Well,
me.
me too. No one's saying that. No one's saying that LeBron's better than Kobe. I'm definitely not. But there are levels to this.
LeBron ain't even the best Laker right now. Give me Austin Reeves.
How did I know you were going to say that? All right, Tim,
I was
you're
trying
up.
to think of a Kings player, and honest to God, I can't think of one.
DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine.
I'm kidding. Sabonis is my
Sabonis.
dude.
Yeah.
Sabonis
I'm a
is my-
diehard Lakers fan, so technically we're enemies at some point. But I mean, I remember the series that we had against you guys in 2002 with Vlade Divac, Chris Webber, Doug Christie, Mike Bibby, all those guys. That was like such a great series. And if we had lost, you guys would have definitely won the finals. You guys would have mopped the floor with the Nets for sure.
When I close my eyes at night, sometimes I can still see that Robert Horry shot.
Yeah, as a clinker. All right. Tim,
Okay,
you're up.
so what is your personal favorite fantasy sports memory?
All right, I'm going to go back really old school here. I don't know how old everyone is on the call, but one of my first years playing in college, I had picked Kevin Barlow in the first round, Niners running back. The guy after me picked Dante Culpepper.
Oh yeah.
Mercilessly roasted me all year. We met in the semifinals of the playoffs, and he is just like on the message board, in person, getting drunk at the chapter meeting, just mercilessly ridiculing me and my quarterback. And he said, I quote, "My team is never losing to a team with Billy Volek at quarterback." Well, some of you, a little bit older, may have heard of the Billy Volek game. The one stretch he had for Tennessee when McNair went down, where him and Danny Farmer went off. And specifically in the semifinals, Tennessee played the Raiders. Oh, I pulled the stats here because there's no way I know him by heart, but I had him here. And his exact stats that game, 492 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 26 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown. I'm watching this game live with friends who didn't even play fantasy football at that point, like just going nuts. It's like a 50-point game back before like all the passing was juiced the way it was now. It was an insane game. I beat this guy. And I think now we're used to the variance of fantasy football, and like now we're used to something like this happening every year. There was a time of innocence. I had no idea this is how fantasy was. And the pure adrenaline watching that game, I don't think has ever been matched.
That's
So you
so
have a
funny.
soft spot for the Raiders because of that now, right? Like,
All roads lead back to the Raiders, guys.
Somehow, some way.
thank you for sucking.
Oh.
Soft spot, yeah, for the Raiders being the defense against my
Yeah.
team.
Even better. So we love to grub on Sundays. What's your game day snack of choice?
Oh, it's look, this isn't the most creative, but it's wings, and not just any wings, but my father-in-law, Mark. Hopefully, if he's watching this, he makes the best wings. Everyone knows it. Every time we go to watch, whether it's football or if it's like NBA playoffs, and they'll be like, "What do you guys want?" I'm like, "Can you make your wings?" They have a great spice, great kick, the perfect texture, and of course, you can dip them a little bit of ranch or blue cheese. That is extra flavor.
I love wings.
Yeah, I just want to play the wings now. Well, I always want to play
Yeah,
the wings.
bro, I feel like I need to go get some wings right now.
Yeah.
Man, I just had a big dinner and I want wings.
So-
I'm in Hawaii, so it's not quite dinner time, so I'm gonna have to grab some for dinner tonight now.
There you go.
This question specifically for him, because I want to hear your answer, because he's our commish.
It's the commissioner curse, man.
He's our commish, and he finished last year. So his question, I made this specifically for him.
Yeah, I didn't get to choose my own question.
I did it for him. So enjoy this question.
What? We cut out? The best fantasy football punishment. What is it? What do you got for me?
So this is probably one, if you go on like TikTok, there's probably better stuff. My favorite one in our league is we had something where the first place team got to choose either a song or a scene from a movie. And for some reason, the last place team had to like film it and post it for the entire league before the start of the next season. So sometimes they're just really embarrassing songs. Sometimes these were entire like movie sequences. One year I did actually get last at a nightmare team, and I had to do the entire speech from Any Given Sunday at the end. But the great thing, it works if the league works. Like our league, when we lose, we go all in. So I was dressed up in an outfit like him. I had the cadence and everything memorized. I had the music. I found the soundtrack and had the music swelling and playing in the background as it went on. So there's probably more embarrassing ones, but this one was just fun. It was fun for the whole league and fun for the first place person who got to go get the last place person as well.
Yeah, see, I'm not very shy, so I would like that. All we got right now is if they get to pick my keeper for me.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
That's just
we
me.
had.
That's just
He
me.
tried going through and dropping people.
I did. At the end of the year, I'm like, shit, who's on the injured reserve that I could just stack on my bench right quick? Like, there's loopholes to everything.
Except that he wasn't able to.
Yeah, I wasn't able to. That was the other league.
Make
So-
him at the end of a pod. Make him sing an embarrassing song or do a scene so all the viewers can see it.
There you go.
Cody,
Okay,
what's the
so
Raiders fight?
what?
What's the Raiders fight song? Raiders got to have a
Raiders
fight
fight
song.
song.
I'm sure they do. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you. I don't know any team fight songs. In fact, I didn't even know NFL has fight songs in general. I thought that was a high school football thing. So the fact that professional teams have that, I find it a little weird. But just a round table for everybody. In your guys' league, do you guys have last place punishments?
Yes.
Matt,
Yep,
what's on yours?
So right now, Cody, I think you saw it. So on the 4th of July, every 4th of July, it was just something me and my friends started. We dress up as like some random fictional character or something funny, and we just kind of go on like do a 5K run. Well, this past 4th of July, I was someone like riding a bald eagle through the neighborhood. I actually got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome. So my buddy, he was filming me, and he came up with the idea, hey, whoever loses the fantasy league has to run around in that eagle outfit. So that's going to be the punishment.
That's awesome.
Tim, do you have one?
No. I'm actually like not in a league with any of my friends, like local friends. All mine are, like spread out everywhere. So like I am trying to think of like one because I am a commish of one. So maybe I'll have to reach out to Chris here and he can give me some other cool ideas for a punishment. But yeah, I'm not in any league where it's local to where we could have an embarrassing punishment like that.
Shovix, do you guys have any specific punishment? I mean, you guys are still trying to figure out yours, but do you guys have others in history?
We used to do last place would always pay third place. So they would pay their normal entry, the $100 buy-in we would do, but then they'd have to pay another $100 at the end of the season. But then we kind of dispersed and created a new league with some new friends, and well, not new friends. We've obviously known them, but some of them, that's $100, $200, up to $200 is a little too steep for them. So then last year we decided to do, last place gets his keeper picked by us. So on August 23rd, 6 p.m., we'll all look over his roster and we're going to pick out, this is who you're keeping, and then kind of just go from there. But I don't think this one's going to be a mainstay. We just couldn't come up with something quick enough. So we'll probably do our league vote because we always do votes.
Yeah.
And see if anyone else has some other cool ideas that, make it a little more worth it.
So my cousins, they each have their own league. So I have two cousins that have their own. One's Yahoo, one's I think it's an NFL one. And the Yahoo last place this past season had to sit on Santa Claus's lap for photos. And then
Is that allowed?
Well, you got to get Santa to consent to it, which is the tricky part. And he did it somehow, some way. And the other one, so that was I think that's the Yahoo one. So the NFL one, the last place guy had to get his armpits waxed.
Oh.
And then
Ow.
this year we have two up for vote. One to sit in a McDonald's for, I think it's the 12 hours and you got to eat your way out of it. And then another one is, I think you got to eat the Pocky hot chip or something like that. I think that so
Wow.
those are the two punishments on the table for last place.
No,
I want to see the guy get his armpits waxed by Santa at the mall. That would be
That-
combine the two.
That's a lot of extra work right there.
Maybe
would
wearing
be
that
worth it.
Eagles outfit that come out
Oh,
earlier.
the bald eagle outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bald eagle.
Yep.
throw them all together. No, this came up when we were talking about favorite fantasy moment and kind of what to do. And I remember in one of our leagues, and I just want to get your opinion on it. I'm not going to drop names or anything, but let's just say there was a matchup coming down and it was Monday night, and one person had a dude who was questionable and didn't prepare.
Oh.
So the other person went and picked up every available person who could go into that slot on that bench. How do you feel about that kind of move in fantasy?
I think it's legitimate. That's look. I don't like to be a jerk about it. Like I feel like I'm the person who always says like if a trade is proposed and a guy gets hurt, then someone tries to accept it, that should go back, because in real football there's an IR. But look, the truth is, the guy should know his player is questionable. He has all the opportunity to plan ahead. The only reason he does is because he's trying to get greedy and not have to drop anybody. So I feel like that's the kind of thing where one guy's being greedy, trying not to drop anyone on his team. It's just a strategic move. The thing is, it would have to be like the perfect scenario, because usually there's still someone else you can start, unless you're waiting till Monday night and you're really being super greedy.
He may or may not have had a friend or two help him round up some other.
Oh, that's
Well, that's
yeah.
different. That's
Yeah,
Chris,
hold on.
Let
now.
me just be honest about. So I was the one that picked up these people and got a friend or two. Because if there's one thing I hate, is you having an invalid lineup. There's no excuse for it. Like, you can at least pick up one person who's at least going to play. I don't care if he's shitty. You had just be active. So when that happened, that's what I hate the most. And I'm like, there's no rules against picking up every available person. Got a compadre or two to join in with me, because they're like-minded. Be active, be prepared. Like, there's no reason to have an invalid lineup or person like that, unless it's very last second. But he was questionable and highly doubtful the whole week.
So it's funny. I had a version of this one time. I was in the championship. I was playing against one of my best friends I think it was during COVID even, when random people would test positive for COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the very end of the championship. We're heading into Monday night. I was like winning by 2, and he had Tyler Bass. And I'm just like, I'm screwed. There's no way I'm winning this. But just in case, I went and I picked up all the other kickers, including like the Bills' backup kicker. And I'm like, look, if Bass plays, I'm losing this matchup. If for whatever reason Bass, gets COVID at the last second, I'm going to have this, his backup on my bench. So it was Bass played and I lost, but it was, I thought it was a smart maneuver.
It was being prepared.
It is, and that's what it's about, right? Especially championship game. You're not playing for next week. I don't need to keep 7 bench people that, unless it's a dynasty league or something, like there's no reason for it. So use all your resources and do what you can.
The only other thing I'll say, maybe the only caveat, because I generally agree, is just you got to know your league, right? There are some leagues I'm in where it's like it's friends and half the people are parents and they're busy and it's really just about having fun. And I'm in some leagues where no, it is you do whatever it takes to win.
Yes.
And so you just got to know your league, right?
I don't care if you have kids. You can take time to have. Everyone takes a 10-minute pregame dump on Sundays. Get prepared. You have time, okay?
Austin pulls a Brock Lesnar. I don't give a shit about your kids.
That's what I'm saying. You have time to be prepared.
This season, I'm going to have to start a podcast that goes right before the start of the games. I'm going to call it the morning dump.
There you go.
It's a power card. It's a power card. The
Power
morning
card. There we go.
There we go.
New power up card. You guys.
The little screen passes.
Right, you gotta have that strength like the mother, but
Maddie, you're up.
yeah, Chris, just closing it out, I guess. Is there a favorite stadium that you've been to or that is on your wish list to go to?
Yeah, so listen, maybe it's just a me thing. I love the classics, right? There's a lot of cool modern stadiums I've been to, and they're fun. You can go get sushi and sit upstairs, and there's robots. That's all great. The best for me is just going to Soldier Field. I got to go to a game in the snow. We're sitting out there. It's in the snow. all the true Bears fans, some of them like shirtless, even though it's just in the snow.
Shoot.
At Soldier Field, they're playing the Giants. So like classic matchup. We're drinking a beer, we're watching the game, and I don't think life gets much better than that. That's just something everyone should experience while they could. Certain things are just historic, and I had the time of my life. So I recommend everyone go to Soldier Field. Well, you can drink a beer, go in the snow or the rain, and just experience the classic Chicago game.
Yeah, I'm with you. Give me the classics all day.
Yeah.
All right. So, Chris, before we wrap up, we have a couple of chat questions. They're a little bit fantasy forward, so you can answer them as detailed as you like. So we got a buddy, Jason Colenso, fan of the show. What up? He asked, which quarterback had a poor showing last year will have a better one this year? And the 4 that he posed was either Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, or Bryce Young.
Oof.
Yeah, so there's a safer one, I think, and then there's the one I'm gonna pick. I think the safer one is on some level just Dak if he comes back and he's healthy. Like he's done it before. I think for me though, I'm really really intrigued by Lawrence with the weapons he has and that Liam Cohen offense. It feels like he's in a position. I mean, he really is. He's never reached the heights that we want him to, but he really has not been awful. Like I've seen bad quarterbacks, and Trevor Lawrence has not been bad. He's just been meh. Yeah. So I kind of feel like
he has a bad team.
Yeah. I mean, look at guys like Sam Darnold and Geno Smith. Like we've seen any number of guys who, or Baker Mayfield, right? He got kicked around a little bit. They were a little disappointing when they're young. It took them a little while longer to adjust to the NFL. Then they went to a new team, new OC, better line, better weapons, and suddenly they played great. Obviously, Lawrence is on the same franchise, but new OC, better weapons, better everything. I would not be surprised if this is the year that Lawrence, everybody kind of ignores him and everyone's kind of given up on him. And this could be the year where he could have a really strong season.
Yeah, I agree with Trevor Lawrence, but I'm also kind of buying into Bryce Young too, just based on how he finished the season after his benching last year. And he comes back in and what Canales has been able to do with him. And I do like some of the weapons that they do have around him. I like Chuba Hubbard, and some of the receivers there. So I like Trevor Lawrence, but if I had to pick on this one, I'd go Bryce Young.
I like Trevor Lawrence. Not enough people are talking about Brian Thomas Jr. either. I mean, but I know Malik Neighbors and Brock Bowers kind of took the league by storm, but Brian Thomas Jr. was legit. He's a true legitimate alpha male receiver one, and I think that alone is going to help Trevor Lawrence. Like you said, new OC, new play caller, true alpha male receiver one. Trevor Lawrence would be my pick out of these.
That's how I want you to refer to me in the future the next time I come on. I like that. Well, one other small note, by the way, on these two. So I actually agree with you. I like Bryce Young a lot. He came on strong the end of last year. One of the differences for me, though, with Lawrence, though, is I don't think people realize this. He is a sneaky rusher, right?
Yeah.
So Young actually he passed the ball pretty well, and I could see him taking the next step there. Lawrence, I could see passing too, especially with those weapons. But he's a guy that will actually run for a decent amount of yardage, and he seems to put up about 4 to 6 rushing touchdowns a year, which Bryce has never really been a guy that gets out of the pocket and runs in the same way. Or Dak. Dak's actually the same way. So I think it's another thing for me that gives – or Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career. Yeah. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers could run even if he tried. So
yeah, I don't think he's running anymore. I would say I'd be a little concerned about Trevor Lawrence, and the only reason why is because I don't really trust Liam Cohen, and there's nothing that stands out to me that says, oh yeah, he's going to turn around the Jags, and I don't know if the Jags are even a franchise that's going to be able to turn around this season. I'm apprehensive about Trevor Lawrence because he had Doug Peterson. We thought that was an upgrade. That didn't really work out, and it just seems like every time Trevor Lawrence is supposed to exceed expectations, it feels like he regresses a little bit. So I'm a little concerned with Trevor Lawrence, but I kind of agree with Corey. I think Bryce Young is a quarterback that might sneak in, or the way he played the last third, I think, of the season when he kind of came back into the starting lineup. He really showed some maturity, and I think that was huge for Carolina. And they actually added, of course, T-Mac with out of Arizona. So I think that's another weapon with him paired next to Xavier Legette. I think that's his kid's name. So I feel like that Panthers offense is going to be pretty pretty interesting. And I think Bryce Young will. I say Bryce Young, but again, I'm not the fantasy expert. That's you, Chris.
No, don't sleep on Jatavion Sanders. That's my overall sleeper. I was big on him last year, and I picked him up when he played the Chiefs, and he was going off, and then came down. That's the game he came down on his head and neck and got all messed up, but he was cruising. But I don't know if I'm gonna take quarterback advice from a Raiders fan. I don't know, man. I'm iffy on Bryce Young now.
Timmy, Matt, you guys got anything on this one?
Yeah, I have one quick thing, and that's Dak Prescott was mentioned, and he shouldn't have even been, because as long as he plays for the Cowboys and as long as Jerry Jones is still the owner, I'm not trusting any quarterback or any player on the Cowboys. And that's, minus maybe CeeDee Lamb, but I do like Trevor Lawrence's rushing ability. He's 6'5", I think, so they're in the red zone. If he could just muscle his way into the end zone, he could get a couple rushing touchdowns. I do agree with Corey, though. Bryce Young is underrated, and they went and got Ted McMillan and 6'5" wide receiver. So I think if I had to pick today, I'm gonna lean with Corey and go with Bryce Young, but Trevor Lawrence is a close second for me. Aaron Rodgers isn't even in this equation.
Yeah, hopefully T-Mac has been watching game film, though. That's pretty important.
Yeah. Maddie?
Yeah, just to keep it quick, kind of the same with Tim. It's going to be Bryce Young for me. I think he just kind of needs some stability around him, and I think he's going to get that. I think it's kind of there now, especially drafting I always butcher his name. You guys have been saying what, Ty Condoroga Pencil, whatever his name is. The kid.
He's calling Ted.
The kid. Yeah,
close
sure.
enough.
Yep. But
Tetris.
There you go. Having him there, I think Bryce Young is going to have a better season. Lawrence is right behind him, though. I'm not quite sold on Cohen, but again, he's not a bad OC. He kind of revitalized Mayfield's career, so I'm curious to see how he's going to do with Lawrence. But for me, it's going to be Bryce Young.
All right, guys. I think that's just about it. There was another question, but it was just more if there's an app yet for SmashUps, and I think we talked about it. There's not one yet. Right.
Not yet on the app, but hopefully coming with the next round of funding.
All right. So you guys can catch Chris and also check out SmashUp Fantasies, and that is at SmashUp, or what's the website's name? SmashUpSports.com. And also you guys can check out Chris on Instagram at Sports Junkie. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Chris,
or
we
at
really
SmashUp Sports if you want to follow the brand and see all the latest news when it comes out.
We're going to put everything in the description so that way everyone can follow. Chris, man, this was a true joy, man. We really appreciate you joining us and talking fantasy sports. And we'll have to have you on in the middle of the season to see where everyone's at in terms of fantasy, to gauge the room and come up with some punishment ideas.
Absolutely. Love being on. Appreciate you guys having me. And I forget all the other stuff. I look forward to coming back to settle this Bryce Young, Trevor Lawrence debate. Not Quentin Johnson, though. Don't hold me to that one.
No. That's what we heard. We heard Quentin Johnson over Xavier Worthy. We heard it loud and clear.
This room will hold you to everything, okay?
Good.
I said Amari and Hampton episode 1, and we're on episode 12 now?
12?
I'm still
Yeah.
here.
Yep. All right, Chris, thank you so much for joining us, guys. We also want to give a special shout out to our sponsors, Emporia State Federal Credit Union, and also Field Ops. Their information is down below, and don't forget Spy Optics. We will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you for joining us on the War Room.